Welcome back, guys. We're here for another set review for Murders at Karlov Manor. Today we're going to be going over all of the black cards, and we've got Yanks on the call. Welcome back.
Glad to be back. I think that makes you 3 out of 4 in the intros calling it Karlov Manor and not Markov Manor, so you're doing well.
Yeah, I don't know if for those of you who are watching on the YouTube channel, you might notice in the middle of that introduction, each time I glance up, I'm reading the word because I keep saying Markov Manor. Yes. I literally keep looking and glancing up every time I need to reference the name of the thing. So if you guys missed our introduction to Murders at Karlov Manor, please head on over to that video. It's already posted. We go over the most important things that you guys need to know going into your pre-release, like returning mechanics, new mechanics, and draftable archetypes and signpost cards. But today we're going to talk about those black cards and give them the rating 1 through 5 and let you guys know how we feel they will perform in the average sealed and or draft deck. So high synergy cards tend to get a little bit of a dock because you have to draft around them and sometimes it doesn't come together. But Yanks, what are you thinking? We've seen 2 colors so far. What do you expect to see out of black?
I mean, I'm expecting to see some of the standard stuff, right? Black should have the best removal. It almost always does. Um, Curious to see.
Two power creatures, disguise creatures.
Yeah, I'm curious to see now that we'll be like halfway through the set when we're done with this, if we get any more information on how fast the set is.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, Agency Coroner, a 5-mana 3/6 Ogre Cleric. You can pay 3, sacrifice another creature, draw a card. If the sacrificed creature was suspected, draw 2 instead. Okay, this is interesting. This is the first time we've seen really something that would make us want to remove a suspect from an opponent's card. Like, we saw a lot of that mechanic in white. So it's interesting here to see that, like, they could suspect their own card, give it menace, and then when they no longer need it, they can sacrifice it, draw. Like, there is some flexibility here. I don't think that this is a great card, but I think it's fine.
These kind of, pay mana, sack a creature, draw a card effects are usually pretty good, but they're usually aren't as expensive.
Yeah, but
When
they
they're
don't
good.
usually get to draw you too.
No, but I don't know how often that's going to be relevant.
I think it will
Yeah.
be kind of relevant. I've seen a lot of suspect so far. And I'm guessing if black has this sort of ability, I'm thinking that this will be a major enabler for it. And I'm not going to say it's easy, but you're paying 1 extra for the chance to sometimes draw 2.
Yeah. It can depend a lot on the type of deck you are, right? If you're aggressive, you probably don't want to be sacrificing your menace creatures. And it's tough to leave up 3 mana all the time to protect against removal.
Yep. Definitely tough. I will say that, like black white, there is a 2 power or less synergy in the format. Now, some of those will be disguised cards, full cards that you don't want to sacrifice, but also it could play into tokens, and there could be a few decks that have go wide fodder, like a Tinker's Tote type mechanic, where we'd be more than happy to sacrifice some of those. I think this is just a 2, but definitely
Yep.
a card that's going to see some play.
Agreed.
All right, Alley Assailant, 3 mana for a 3/3. Enters the battlefield tapped. You can also disguise, flip it for 6 mana, face down for 3, and when it is turned face up, target opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. This is an expensive flip for a 3 mana drain. Or a 3 life drain.
It's also interesting that, like, I think a significant amount of the time it's just better face down than face up. Like 2/2 ward 2 for 3 is just as good as 3/3 tapped.
Yeah, I think it depends. I feel like if you're on the play or something, a 3/3 for 3 in black is like decently statted, above
Yeah.
average.
But it's more like you're not really losing much by playing it face down, and you get the opportunity to disguise to flip it up.
Yeah. Yeah, because it costs 3, the disguise cost is the same. So, like,
Yeah.
if you have a nice flush hand and you feel like you're going to get to 6, you might be worth it. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think this card is... The disguise just doesn't do it for me. Maybe its power is hidden. Maybe it's disguised, misleading how good it'll be, but I don't think so. I'm not here for this card. I think it's playable. I think it's a 2.
Yeah, I think it's a 2 as well. It's a card you do have to worry about if you're a low life because it is some reach.
I don't like it. I like it less than the last card.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, Barbed Servitor. That thing looks crazy. 4 mana for a 1/1 construct with Indestructible. When it enters the battlefield, suspect it. When it deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card and lose a life. Whenever it deals combat damage, target opponent loses that much life. Whenever it is dealt damage, target opponent loses that much life. No. You did not. Is this that freaking red goblin bastard? But better, because it draws?
Red Goblin Bastard. I don't know what card you're talking about.
When this is dealt damage, target opponent loses that much life. It's that freaking goblin! No! Stop it. Stop it right now.
I'm not remembering the card you're talking about.
I hate this card. This card is awful. Stop it. This ruins games. Why? I hate the goblin. No.
Okay. I don't even remember this card at all that you're talking about. I'm looking it up because people are pointing it out in chat.
It's a terrible time. It's the most.
This wasn't a course. It was a core set. I probably didn't play it
unfun magic in the history of ever. This dumb goblin. Boo. 0 out of 10. Delete this card from the file. I hate it.
I kind of like this card, actually. For a couple reasons why. I'm looking at Brash Taunter, which I assume is what you're talking about. And a difference, it can't block like that card could.
Yeah.
So it doesn't just sit there and wall them off from ever attacking you like
but
that.
It has the opposite effect because you can just attack into them and they can't block it without taking the damage, or you get to draw a card, which is equally good on the other side. So I don't agree that it not attacking is because it gets another bonus. The draw card effect makes them want to block this.
I'm not suggesting it's worse because of that, but I think it's a better designed card because it doesn't just force giant stalls.
I hate it.
Like that other card does.
I hate it. It is.
Like this card doesn't do anything for you if you're if you're behind. Like that could just stop a board.
Okay. And sometimes they're going to just get to attack you forever and draw cards. And it's annoying. I hate this card. It's good. It's a 4. And I'm mad at whoever designed this card. What do you rate it?
I like it as a 4 as well. I think the card's good. I don't have quite the vitriol for it that you do, but...
All right, whoever designed this. I want to say... I don't want to be your friend anymore. That's not true. I'll still be your friend, but I'll be salty about it.
We should also see how much minus X effects there are, or exile removal.
Yeah, I'm hoping there's like a fungal infection or
disfigure.
Figure. Thank you. I was thinking disguise, but that's because that's in the set, and all words sound the same now because I'm old. Basilica Stalker, 6 mana for a vampire detective. Good keyword, or good key type. It has flying. It's a 3/4. When it deals combat damage to a player, you gain 1 life and surveil. That's great. And you can also disguise it, which is good. Makes your 6 drops a little bit more reasonable. I'm happy with this card. I think it's flexible, good sized body, and you can play it on 3. So this is a check for me. Plus the gain a life surveil is nothing to sniff at either. So this is a 2.5. I'm probably not cutting the first one of these.
Sure how I feel about this card. I think every part of this card is just too expensive.
What?
Like 6 mana for 3/4 flyer, I'm not happy with. 8 mana in installments, I'm definitely not happy with.
I mean, but the thing is that you can still play it for 3 mana as a 2/2 with ward, right? Which you were fine with on the 3/3 that had a way worse ability when you flipped it.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I don't think it's terrible. Like pretty much anything with disguise is probably playable.
Exactly. And I think that this is just lends itself really well to a nice late game. I think 5 is very reasonable for the body here.
Yeah, I think I'm probably at a 2 instead of a 2/5, but it's not unplayable by any means.
Wow, that's interesting. Because I was so much lower on the 3/3. Okay, moving on to our first black case, which is the Case of the Gorgon's Kiss. 1 mana for when this case enters the battlefield, destroy up to 1 target creature that was dealt damage this turn. I love that on a 1 mana spell. And then to solve the case, 3 or more creature cards were put into a graveyard from anywhere this turn. So that includes Surveil, combat. Obviously, you're casting this because something has been dealt damage. So your creature died, their creature dies from this, and you surveilled once, good to go. If this case is solved, this case is a 4/4 creature Gorgon with Death Touch and Lifelink in addition to its other types. And then so it kills their thing and turns into another thing. I'm here for it. I've seen, we had a 3/6. There's usually a fair number of booties. I think white had some good booties, like 1/3s, 1/4s. I like it.
There's a 2/10.
Oh, yeah. And there was a 1/10 in white, too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a straight up white 1/10 morph. So I think this is good. I doubt I will cut this, and I don't think 3 cards into the graveyard are super hard in combat situations in a set with Surveil. So I like this card a lot.
As long as you can get the 1/1 for 1 mana for it at the first part, you'll be happy with this, and then it just sits there and maybe eventually flips.
Yeah.
That's fine. Or not flips, but it gets solved.
So what do you think in rating wise?
I think it as a 3.
Yeah, I was also at a 3. I was a little tempted to bump it to a 3/5 only because the removal part of it is not fantastic, but then I'm willing to give it a little bump for the, post removal Gorgon, but maybe that seems a little too high. 3.25 final answer. All right. Case of the Stashed Skeleton. 2 mana. When this case enters the battlefield, create a 2/1 skeleton creature token and suspect it. So it has menace. Can't block. To solve, you control no suspected skeletons. And then solved, you can pay 2, sacrifice this case, search your library for a card, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Activate only as a sorcery. That seems good. I like this card.
Yeah, you get a 2 mana 2/1 with menace. When it dies, or if you have a way to get rid of,
it'll die eventually.
Yeah, I mean, it can't block, so they have to be willing to kill it.
Mm-hmm.
It then just turns into a demonic tutor.
Yep. I feel like if your 2-drop gets to just go unopposed forever, you're pretty happy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good card. But it does. They do have to. They do have some agency in whether or not it dies.
It's a little slow. Like you could top deck this late and you need the blocker or something, and it wouldn't be super great. But I think this is a solid 3.5, maybe a 3. But I like it.
It's one of those. It's like a 3, or it could be higher depending on what other bombs you have in your deck.
Yeah.
To go get.
If this is your only rare, and you have a bunch of mopey at rate creatures, then sure, then it's going to be a little bit sad, but I still think it's good value.
Yeah, I mean, you can always go get a removal spell or something, but
yeah,
if you have a bomb to go get, this is even better.
I'm going to say that this is a 3.5.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's a good rated creature attached to a free card. So to me, that's good value.
Yep.
All right. Cerebral conference fudge sickles.
Nope, definitely not that.
Cerebral Confiscation. 3 mana for a sorcery. Choose 1. Target opponent discards 2. These have been much better lately. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it, and that player discards that card. Okay.
So recently we've been getting a lot of Mind Rot Plus.
Yeah.
This is like Mind Rot Ore.
Yep.
Instead.
But the Ore is kind of good in the right situation.
Yeah, it's a 3 mana hybrid Mind Rot Thoughtseize.
Mm-hmm. So I'm okay with this card. It's sorcery speed still, so I mean, it's probably still a 2 for me.
Yeah, it's got the same problem these cards always have, right? If you draw them late in the game, a lot of times they're completely useless.
Yeah.
Um, but it is a 2-for-1 if you play it early. So,
I'm going to let you take the next two.
Clandestine Meddler, 2 and a black for a 3/2 vampire rogue. When Clandestine Meddler enters the battlefield, suspect up to one other target creature you control. Whenever one or more suspected creatures you control attack, surveil one.
It's
I
an
think this
okay
card's
costed creature.
Yeah, I think this card's fine. If you have something else on the battlefield, you can get that surveil trigger right away, which is nice. I mean, you have to have something else to get the first part to work because it's other target creature. Um, yeah, I mean, this feels like a very aggressive card. Like, I don't want this in a controlling deck because I do not want to be making my creatures not block.
Yeah. This feels good to me. I feel like I would still like it in control just for the ability to be able to surveil consistently. And like, you're going to have to kill him eventually. I feel like this is an okay curve filler even in a control deck. I think this card's fairly good and I think we'll win some games. The surveil seems really good. The rate is fine. I like this card. I think this is like a 3. I'm probably not cutting this.
Yeah, I think I'm at 2/5 just because I feel like it's a 3 in an aggressive deck and a 2 in a control deck.
Fair, fair.
Um, Also, I feel like and maybe this is just in my head, but I feel like we're seeing a lot of 3/2s in this set, which I think is intentional because to make disguised creatures useful.
Agreed. To make them just not outpaced immediately.
Yeah, yeah. Next up, we have Deadly Cover Up. This is a 5-mana sorcery, 3 double black. As an additional cost to cast the spell, you may collect evidence 6. Destroy all creatures. If evidence was collected, exile a card from an opponent's graveyard, then search its owner's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with that name and exile them. That player shuffles, then draws a card for each card exiled from their hand this way.
Interesting. So it's a board clear stapled to a surgical extraction?
Yeah, whatever the more recent versions of Surgical that replace the cards in their hand. Yeah. I forget what that is.
So if you don't have other, I think it's just a board clear.
This is a board wrath, yeah.
But if you don't have other collect evidence spells, I don't hate the idea of being able to just spend that as an additional bonus in that late game so that way you can get a peek at their hand. This format seems a little slower than what we are, scarred from, all will be one and other formats recently. So there could be that like later game where they have 2 to 3 cards in their hand. You're sure that 1 or 2 of them are lands and 1 is a pump spell or whatever. And you just get to see for free. It's a nice little bonus, and I don't hate a 5-mana Wrath. I think this card is fine. Did we lose Yanks?
Oh, now you're back. Now I hear you. I did for a while.
Oh, we lost you. I was saying I like this card.
Yeah, sorry. I just all of a sudden couldn't hear anything.
My only point was that 6, the collect evidence is kind of meh, but the idea that you can just peek at their hand for free in that late game is a nice bonus. But I do think that this is mostly just 5-mana destroy all creatures.
Yeah, you can also exile like the highest cost card out of the yard to make their collect evidence stuff worse.
Yeah, you get to remove a thing, prevent them from getting it back if they have that sort of black mechanic in the set where you get 2 creatures back. So it's nice fringe benefit. I think it's solid.
Yeah, but you're right. It's really just a 5-mana Wrath.
Yeah, I am willing to exile 6 mana in the late game to peek at your hand and remove your stuff that I'm scared of. So I'm willing to give this. We usually give board clears like a 4.
Yeah. Yep, that's what I've got.
This one doesn't do anything. We've been a little spoiled with board clears lately, but I still think that this is probably good.
Yeah, agreed.
All right.
I like it as a 4.
Extract a Confession. 2 mana for a sorcery is an additional cost to cast this. You may collect evidence 6. Each opponent sacrifices a creature. If evidence was collected instead, each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures they control. I mean, these sorts of abilities are hit or miss depending on the set. If there's tokens, if there is go wide strategies, tinker tote type things. Yeah, I think these cards are always playable, but they're pretty underwhelming. Getting to collect evidence 6 as a nice bonus to ensure that you're hitting that bigger creature is good, but also these without that ability still seem to make play, like to still seem to see play in decks where you're a little light on removal.
Yeah, the straight edict effect, my goal is to never put this in my deck. No, you're right. You do sometimes if you're short on removal. Um,
And you
but
just have to
the
pick your
the
spots.
yeah, the edicts that make them take the greatest power, those are usually good enough to play. So if you think you can be collecting evidence 6 often enough, then sure.
Yeah. So rating wise, I think that these tend to see play. It's like a 2.5.
Yep,
I probably still play them more than I should just because I like to overfill my deck full of removal. But cut them if you can. Get something better.
agreed.
Fester Leech, 1/1 for 1. When it deals combat damage to a player, you mill 2. Okay, good for discovering evidence. And you can pay 2. It gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Activate only once a turn. I don't hate that rate. I don't want to play this unless I'm actively really trying to figure out something to get cards into the graveyard, but I'm hoping I'll have more efficient ways to do it than a 1/1 for 1.
Yeah, these cards are always weird because the ability feels aggressive, but also if I'm aggressive, I want to be curving out and not spending 2 mana on this every turn.
Yeah, I think it's like a threat of activation thing, right? You can get in at
Yeah,
a little extra damage, but that's not
true.
usually the thing you want to be doing in this. That's more Golgari's thing. Or, I'm sorry, Gruul's thing.
Yep.
The other thing, the last time this particular mechanic was good was like on a wolf in like Innistrad. The last one where it was a 1/1 wolf that you could pump, but wolf was also a relevant creature type that helped synergize with all of your other cards, you know, helping you flip cards, helping you get +1/+1 if you control another wolf, like that kind of stuff. I don't think Zombie Leech is going to make the cut on that. I don't think it was going to be a relevant creature type.
No, it doesn't look like it. Again, you're right. If the mill is relevant to you, then maybe you can put this in your deck. But otherwise, I'm with you. You don't play this card.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to give it a 1.5. I think it's fine, but not for me. Low
Agreed.
impact one drops
1.5.
is typically something I'm avoiding.
Agreed.
Homicide Investigator, 2 mana for a 2/2 human detective. Whenever one or more non-token creatures you control die, investigate. This ability triggers only once per turn. Great. Great bear all day, every day. I want to rate this extremely high.
Yeah, this card's great.
Whenever one or more creatures you control dies. Yeah, I mean, you have to be making trades. You have to have creatures. This won't be very good for you because you have 4 creatures in your deck, but for me, it's going to be great.
Yeah, and I believe it should trigger itself as well. Which would be, useful.
Yes. So rating wise, I think that it's a little slow, but I think this is a 3.5.
Yeah, and we've talked about this, and I think in blue and in white. But anytime you get a 1-drop, 2-drop, that's pretty good in the late game. Obviously, not great on an empty board top deck, but
Yeah,
that's always a nice bonus to have.
absolutely. And honestly, I want to give it a better score, but the truth of the matter is it's just a 2-drop, so it doesn't impact the game all that much all at once. So I think it's a 3.5.
Agreed.
All right. The Haunted Bone Brute. Haunted Bone Brute. 3 mana for a 6/2 with Menace. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent creates 2/1/1 white dog creature tokens. When this dies, each opponent loses 3 and you can disguise for 2 mana. 2 mana is cheap. I love the idea of just morphing it for 3 and then them being like, no blocks. You only have 2 untapped mana. You're not going to get to like do anything too crazy. And then you're just like, got him. Get you for 6. That can kill someone.
Yeah, this is a nice kind of throwback to original Ravnica, where they had a full cycle of these hunted cards, where it was like undercosted thing, but you gave your opponent stuff. Um, so I like the callback. I like the fact that you can not give them any tokens if you put this face down and then flip it.
Yeah,
Because
that's true.
because this guy yeah, undisguising doesn't work. Unmorphing works. Um, if you if you pay that cost, it's not entering the battlefield at that point.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Honestly, when I read it, I assumed it said when this card is enters or is turned faced up, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, rating wise, I think it's cute, but like they could also just block it with their 3/3, and you feel
I mean, it
sad.
is menace.
But it isn't when it's if you're trying to trick them, right?
Oh, sure, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
if you're
With
trying
the
to do
two
like the
two.
flip
Yep.
trick. But you're
Yes.
right, you could morph it and then flip it, and they can't block it because it has menace. If they only left up one blocker, then that's fine.
Yeah, I
It's
think you want to be like playing this face down on 3, and then on turn 4 flipping this and playing a 2 drop.
Yeah. I still think this is fine card. I think we're not cutting it, but I'm nothing to write home about. So I'm going to say that this is a 3.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's a 3. I'm tempted to be a little higher on it, but I think 3 is fine.
All right. Illicit Masquerade, 4 mana for an enchantment with flash. When it enters the battlefield, put an imposter counter on each creature you control. Whenever a creature you control with an imposter counter on it dies, exile it. Return up to one other target creature card from your graveyard onto the battlefield. Oh, wow. And it has flash, so you just flash this in response to like a board clear or a complicated combat thing, and all your stuff just doesn't come back, but it replaces itself in the late game.
Yeah, as long as you have other creatures in your yard to get.
I don't hate this.
Yeah, it's going to require some work to set up. Um, but the nice thing is it's a rare, so people aren't going to be playing around it.
Yeah. I like this card. It's probably not as impactful as it is in my, like, magical dreamland, but, like, that's okay. I still think I'm going to get good value out of this.
Yeah, if you have some sort of self mill or surveilling big things to the yard, this could be better.
I give it a
Um,
3.
yeah, I like it as a 3 as well. Definitely has some upside above that if you can set it up right, but on average, it's probably a 3.
It doesn't add up. 5 mana for an instant. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Suspect it. It's cute. It's instant speed, but it can't block.
Yeah,
So you can't really do a ton there, but you do get to surprise attack them the next turn. That's cool. I think these cards are always okay. It's a little pricey, but it just comes back to the battlefield and gives it menace, so that's cool.
yeah, and end of turn surprise attacker, next turn with menace is nice, but
It's also really good like I feel like the return effect was really good in like Ixalan because you could cycle away your big dinosaurs and then you just cast
yep,
these and bring them back on the cheap. Similarly, you'll have Surveil, so you could put your bigger cards into the graveyard for that mechanic as well. So this is
yep.
okay. I think it's like a 2.
You also have, arguably, you could have more higher cost cards in your deck than usual because of disguise.
Yeah,
Um, so if you might just be trading off things as 2/2s early, but you can get them back for their front side,
true.
maybe you're at least breaking even on the mana cost then.
Yeah, true, true. So I would say that this is a 2.
Yeah, I like it as a 2.
All right, a lead pipe, 1 mana for a clue equipment. It gives +2/+0, and whenever equipped creature dies, each opponent loses a life, and you can sack it to draw a card. Equip 2. These are okay. I don't love any of them.
No, they all replace themselves. They all have kind of minimal effects.
Yeah, artifacts are somewhat relevant in the set, so I mean it's probably playable. I would say it's probably a 2. Feels a
Yeah,
little high, but
yeah, I think it's a 2. We've seen some draw a second card in a turn effects that this is nice with.
I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt.
I guess it's kind of nice with suspect.
I hate the idea that they spent a whole cycle of 5 cards and they aren't good. So I'm willing to just call them all a 2 just to save face because that feels weird that they would do that.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
guess when you're making this many cards a year, getting 5 free ones like that is nice.
Yeah. Leering Onlooker, 2 mana for a 1/2 with flying. you can pay 4, exile it from your graveyard, create 2 tapped 1/1 black bats with flying. Excuse me, this is a rude card.
Yeah. You can do it at instant speed. It's not sorcery only, which is nice.
It's an okay statted evasive creature that comes back as 2 bats.
Yeah.
This card is
Yeah, this is very
fantastic.
good.
I hate it. Is this a 3.5?
I still have it at least a 3. It's still, while it's good value, it's pretty low impact.
I feel like 2 bats is pretty good.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not super high on this card. I mean, it's good. Don't get me wrong. I'm just not as high on it as you are.
I feel like this is if it's a 3, it's the best 3 we've had. It's probably one of the worst 3.5s, but it's up there. All right. Long Goodbye. 2 mana for an instant. The spell can't be countered. Destroy target creature or planeswalker with mana value 3 or less. I like this because there's like some ward in the set, so you can actually do this if those ward creatures are small.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is 2 mana, kill every disguise creature.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, be careful if you do that into open mana, because they can turn it face up in response.
And they all have ward. Duh. Yeah,
Yep.
I keep forgetting that the stupid disguises have ward. This is premium removal in this set. Normally, this smaller 2-droppy 3 CMC or whatever is like not premium. It's like 3.5. This is a 4.
Yeah. Yep. Just 2 mana, kill every disguise card. Plus
And then some,
other,
yeah.
Plus the things that would normally kill in any other set.
Yeah. All right. Now, next up, we have a 4 mana sorcery. This spell costs 2 less to cast. If a creature card was put into a graveyard from anywhere this turn, return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. That's fine. I mean, if it costs 2 less, that's freaking amazing. But also, I'm happy to pay 4 for this, usually, give or take. I use these sort of like I use like a divine visitation, or not divine, a divination in blue. I just consider this like draw your 2 best creatures in your graveyard.
Yeah, it's got its upsides and downsides versus a divination, right? You can't use this to draw out of like land screw like you can with divination.
Yes.
It's
It's card advantage for black.
It early. Yeah, and you can't play it early, but you get a 2-for-1 and you get to pick. So I like that.
Yeah, on the flip side, like divination late game, you just draw 2 lands and you're like, oh, poo, or whatever. And yeah, it's nice to get those off. You would have had to draw them for the next 2 turns and it would have been sad. But like, I feel like in the late game, I like this better. So it's ups and downs for me. I think I'm not cutting the first one of these at 2.5.
Yeah, these cards always feel so bad when your opponent plays them against you. It's like, ugh, I gotta deal with both of those things again.
Yes. Especially when it's that late in the game where like both players are mostly spent.
Yeah, because you're basically drawing 2 great cards off the top of your deck.
All right, Massacre Girl, known killer. 4 mana for a 4/4 with menace. Creatures you control have wither. When they deal combat damage to creatures in the form of -1/-1 counters. Interesting. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, if its toughness was less than 1, draw a card. So everything that dies in combat damage would have less than 1 toughness because they died of -1/-1 counters. So you get to draw a bunch.
See, and then you can kill your barbed servitor perfectly fine.
Oh my god, I'm going to poke you in the eye.
You only need a mythic.
No, I hate the stupid goblin. Die. Make it die. Hate that card. This card is great. It's a great rate. It's a great ability. It doesn't affect the board immediately, so I think this is a 4.
Yeah, I think I almost want to give this a 4.5 because its upside is so huge, and all it has to do probably is survive a combat to get value, either in the form of them not blocking things they would have otherwise, or getting a card out of it.
Yeah, I feel like a good number of the time it's just going to like get double blocked or run into something and trade or get removed, and it ends up replacing itself. So at
I mean,
that
it
point,
doesn't have to. It doesn't have to attack. Have other things attack.
that's true. I guess because you can play it and attack with other things,
Yeah.
right? That's more relevant. I was really only giving her the credit for having the ability, and that is a little unfair. It probably is a 4.5. For some reason in my head, she was the only one that could deal
Sure.
the combat
Yeah.
damage, and that is significantly worse.
I also just like, why are we suspecting all these things if we know who the killer is?
Well, she's a known killer. She doesn't know if she's. We don't know if she's the killer of all the other things.
I mean, I think it's just safe to assume the person named Massacre Girl is the guilty one.
I mean, she probably didn't kill everyone. Okay, yeah, I am convinced. 4.5. All right, murder.
Murder.
3 mana for destroy target creature at instant speed. It's sad that this feels underwhelming now.
It really does.
It's still very good. I still want to give it a 4, but like I'm just like, where's the rest of the text?
Let's just not complain about a three word card.
Yeah, I
More of
appreciate
these,
it.
please.
Agreed. So yeah, it's a 4.
Yep.
All right, moving on. We've got the Night Drinker Morori.
And that there was a card just named that, and I have no idea ever how to pronounce it.
Morori. I don't know. It's a vampire
Mori.
4/2 for 4 with flying. When it enters the battlefield, you lose 3 life. And it has disguise. So if you disguise it, you don't have to lose the life.
Yep.
Target player says, more oi. Maybe.
Yeah.
More passion.
As
More
good,
passion.
good a guess as I could come up with.
Ow. Ow. Hammy doesn't like it when I make noises. And I just hurt myself because I'm really dumb. Hi, YouTube. You don't usually get to see this stuff because I edit it out, but I'm too lazy to go back through this, so hi. Yeah, I think this card is interesting. It's got a pretty big front side for attacking. For 5, you get a 4 powered flyer that doesn't actually hurt you. This is good. Is there a shock in this set?
We don't know yet.
I feel like there has to be in a set that has so many disguises, right?
Oh, yeah, I would think so.
So that makes me a little more mopey about this, but I feel like you're always disguising this ugly thing. But this is a hard one to rate. I feel like, is this a 3?
I think it is because it literally only costs you 1 more mana total if you go through the disguise process. And
Yeah.
in the process of doing that, you've protected it somewhat for the extent of their turn by giving it ward. So they have to have an instant speed spell to, or a really cheap removal spell that they can pay the ward for.
Yeah, you're still paying 5 over 2 turns for a 4/2 flyer. I'm just trying to think of how happy we are with that. I mean, it is 1 stat higher than what we were seeing, which was like the 4 mana 3/4 vanillas. So it just seems like a different iteration than that, and it seems like that hasn't been good enough lately. This has 1 more toughness, but it's a little bit more hoops and stuff, so
Yeah, and the 2 toughness isn't as much of a liability on a flyer in this set as it would be on the ground.
yeah. What are you thinking rating wise? I'm gonna give it a 3.
I like it as a 3. Yep.
All right, outrageous robbery. That's words. X black for an instant. Target opponent exiles the top X cards of their library face down. You may look at and play those cards as long as they remain exiled. If you cast a spell this way, you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color.
This is just XX or X black draw X cards, basically.
From your opponent's library.
Yeah.
I think this is XX. Draw the last 10 cards of your opponent's library to mill them out and get a cookie.
No, because they're going to have the thing that means they don't die to mill.
What? No, shut up. Don't say that. They're going to have the blue 10/10.
Yes.
No, don't ruin my fun. This card seems great.
But see, they'll have it, but it'll have been cloaked, so you won't even know it's there, and they'll flip it up.
Why are you such a rude person? I think this card is great. I'm going to give it a 4.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with this card at 4 mana, draw 2 at instant speed. I'm happier at 6 mana, draw 4. Like, it's just the fact that he's infinitely scaling is great.
Yeah, and it takes all the cards from your opponent because my deck will probably be bad and I need their deck. All right, next up we have a 6 mana, 5/6 Gorgon Detective. When it enters the battlefield, investigate. It's a 5/6. Whenever you sacrifice a clue, target opponent gets 2 poison counters. This is a cookie card, an uncommon cookie card. I only had to sack 5 clues,
Yes.
and I get to eat a cookie. Hang on, hold up. Let me see what Crumble has this week. Crumble has, okay, milk chocolate, s'mores, vanilla crumb cake. Oh, not a fan of all of these. The chocolate mallow cupcake, a sugar with mother's animal cookies, and there's a mystery cookie. Mystery cookies can be really good.
But you really want next week because it won't come out till then.
Mystery cookies. Oh, that's true. Yeah. Next one. Okay, brownie batter. That sounds good. So if you guys are new here, or for you, those of you who are on YouTube, usually when they have weird little alternate win conditions like this, if I can beat someone that way, I get a cookie, and I treat myself to one of those fancy crumble cookies, and they're super yummy. And that's why I'm fat. Okay, I don't care. I'm playing this card. I'm never cutting it, so clearly it's at least a 3.5 because it's never going to get cut. This is... Unless I'll cut it if my deck can't make exactly 5 clues. If my deck has the ability to only make 4 clues, then I might not play it. But I feel like...
What if your deck can make 4 clues, but you have the last card and maybe could get clues out of their deck?
Oh, true. Play it for sure. 6 mana, 5/6 with no keywords, but it does draw you a card. I'm playing that anyway.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think this card is good. It's a fine top end. If you don't have anything better in the 6-drop slot, I think I would like this card. I'm going to give it a 3.
Yeah, I have it as a 3, and I do not care about the last part of this card at all, and it's still a 3.
Someone in chat says, "Hey, I'm new here. I looked at Magic and you were the first result. Crumble, question mark. Crumble is a cookie, a gourmet cookie restaurant. It's you just like go up and buy cookies. I don't know how to explain it. It's like a donut shop, but for cookies, is the vibe. And they have these big cookies that are like $5 a cookie, and they're very good. And I eat one for like 3 days straight. I just eat it a little bit at a time. And so we're joking that if I can win in silly bend over backwards ways, I get to eat one. That's like my treat. Did you agree on the 5?
Yeah, on the 3, yes.
That one, yep. 5 is, halfway through the 10, and that's what we're supposed to be doing. So we'll do that next time. Polygraph Orb, 5 mana for an artifact. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library, put 2 of them into your hand, and the rest into the graveyard. I love that in a set with Discover Evidence, Clue...
Collect Evidence.
Collect Evidence. Clue Evidence, you got it. 2, you can tap Collect Evidence 3. Each opponent loses 3 life unless they discard a card or sacrifice a creature. Ooh. I like this.
Because of 2 HG?
Yes. I do like this because of 2 HG, but also I like it because it's kind of cool. Like, it's going to draw you the 2 cards. You're overpaying for that. True. It's an artifact. Relevant in some decks. Okay. Half a mana tax there because it's a permanent. And then the ability to pay 2 and then slowly drain them out like a Tassiger thing seems pretty dope. It's also fueling that second ability, getting good card selection. I don't love it. It's not like the best thing ever, but I'm going to try to kill someone with this.
Yeah, I mean, this is at least the full mana more than I want to pay for the first ability, but the fact that, like you said, an artifact, I don't know how much I care about that, but the collect evidence part probably makes up for it.
Yeah. So I'm going to say it's a 2.
Yeah.
But it's a 2 I will try not to cut.
Sure.
All right, Presumed Dead, 2 mana for an instant. Until end of turn, target creature gets +2/+0, and when this gains, when it dies, return to the battlefield under its owner's control and suspect it. These are always 1.5s. They're like borderline playables. If you have really good things you need to protect, great, but most of the time I don't see myself running them.
Yeah, contrary to everybody's experience in Constructed, these cards are not broken in Limited. Because, you're not running 4 Griefs and 4 Furies in your deck. So yeah, this is just a 1.5.
Okay. Moving on, we have a Repeat Offender, 2 mana for a 2/1 Human Assassin. For 3 mana, if Repeat Offender is suspected, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Otherwise, suspect it. Oh, cool. So you just 3 mana, give it Menace. 3 mana, give it a +1/+1 counter. 3 mana, give it a +1/+1 counter. I mean, it's slow as dirt, but it's a 2 mana 2/1, and that's okay. I'm okay with mana sinks late game on my 2-drops.
Yeah. Card's okay. I'm not a fan of these really slow builds because it feels like I just end up sinking 8 mana into it and then it dies.
Yeah, but if I'm only doing that if I have nothing else to spend the mana on, right?
Yeah.
And you need some number of 2-drops, and then you're going to draw some number of them on turn 12, and you just, okay, well, at least it's not a 2/1.
True. It does have the ability to actually do something in the late game, which is nice.
So rating-wise, I think it's okay. I'm going to give it a 2.
Yeah, I have it as a 2 as well.
Okay, Rot Farm Mortipede? Sure.
Yep.
4 mana for a 3/4 insect. Whenever one or more creature cards leave your graveyard, Mortipede gets +1/+0 and gains Menace and Lifelink until end of turn. So this is really helping with suspect evidence. Collect evidence. I'm falling apart, Yanks. I'm done. I'm washed up. It's over. My brain is mush. It's unsalvageable. I can't collect it.
You have 4 mana 3/4, which becomes a 4/4 every time you do that. Every time if you have any reanimation stuff, like we've seen a couple cards, or even just bringing them back to your hand.
Mm-hmm. Or the stupid Bat Lady.
Yep.
God, that Bat Lady's good.
Yeah, I mean, 4 mana that can become a 4/4 Menace and Lifelink. I mean, the Menace is interesting in this set because with Suspect around, you might have a lot of Menace things, and the more you have, the tougher it is for them to block any of them.
Yep.
Or to make profitable blocks, at least.
Agreed.
Yeah, and Lifelink on a 4/4 at that point is a meaningful amount.
Yep. What is your rating?
It's a 2.5.
Okay. I was a little on the fence. I feel like the ability's a little bit of a build around, but I was close.
Yeah.
I might have been a hair lower, but I'll buy a 2.5. Slice from the Shadows, X in black for an instant. This can't be countered. Target creature gets -X until end of turn. I like this can't be countered because it lets you kill things disguises for 3, which is reasonable. Keeps mana, keeps removal good. I feel like removal would have had to been absurdly cheap if it couldn't remove it, which would have made all of the other formats busted.
Yeah, this is the downside to sticking to power creeping morph into disguise, is that every common removal spell in the set has to include the words "the spell can't be countered" on it.
Yeah, but is not super relevant in other formats most of the time. Like, you're not killing, you don't need to kill 2/2s with cheap removal in Constructed.
Some formats you do.
Not against counterspell decks, right? Like
Legacy you do. Kill Delvers and things like that.
Oh, so did this just all fuck your deck?
No, because it's too expensive. So you still cost you Fatal Push is still just better.
So that's what I'm saying.
It only costs 1. But
so what are you even talking about? So you're saying, but this would do it in Legacy, but it's not good enough. They have fixed it.
No, we might because I just think we might see something with this. Is a common. If you had to do something like this on a higher power card, it could cause problems by sticking Warren on everything.
So the point still stands that all the draft removal is good for draft in this set, and it is self-correcting because in the other formats in which those cards could be playable, it does not break them. This is, I think, a good card. I'm going to give it a 4.
Yeah, I think it's 4.
Slimy Dual Leech. Ooh, looks gross. 4 mana for a 2/4 leech. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control with power 2 or less gets +1 and gains death touch until end of turn. Hello. It can give itself death touch, and then it's also just in the archetype.
Yeah, and it just gives every disguised creature death touch.
Yeah, +1/+0. So it attacks as a 3/4 with death touch. This card's great.
Yeah. It's a little expensive, but I guess 4 mana. I guess because you can target itself, it's kind of a 4 mana 3/4. So
Yeah, 4 mana 3/4 with a keyword.
which is fine. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's totally great. I doubt I'm cutting this in most decks, even if it's not built around Orzhov mechanic. I would say this is a 3.
Yeah, I think I have it as a 2/5, kind of similar to the 4-drop we saw a little while ago, but probably a little bit better.
I think I like this one more. I feel like I will just have more 2-powered creatures and I will be able to remove cards from my graveyard. So, and this one naturally has the ability Death Touch, which I like more than Menace. Anyway,
Menace and Lifelink, the other one.
if you can trigger it.
Yeah.
Snarling Gorehound, 1 mana for a 1/1 with Menace. Whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, surveil 1. I like that they're adding more dogs to the game.
This is a terrifying dog.
It is. It looks like it should be bigger than a 1/1.
Yeah.
It's okay in Orzhov when you are going to be triggering those a lot for the surveil. I usually don't like 1/1s with Menace or 1/1s with keywords for 1, but this one's probably playable. I'm going to say this is a 2.
I'll say I have really good triggers, like other triggers that this will hit. I'm probably not playing this card. I have it more like a 1/5.
Okay. All right. 4 mana for an enchantment with Flash. When it enters the battlefield, target creature gets -4/-4 until end of turn. Whenever one or more creature cards leave your graveyard, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. This is the baby version of Meat Hook Massacre. Like, it's a different ability, right? Leaving the graveyard versus cards dying. But, like, a similar vibe. Kill your thing, drain you over time. I think there are things that are going to let you remove cards, including collect evidence, which is a thing you can certainly control. The bat can leave by itself. Like, there's lots of abilities, and it's getting its money worth on its own. 4 mana, -4/-4, I'm already in.
Yeah, it is worse in this set because it's for a decent number of targets. It's 6 mana. Because this can be countered.
And it kills that freaking indestructible bastard.
Let's kill that.
It's a 5. Moving on. I think this is a 4.
I have it as a 4 as well.
Toxic Analysis, 1 mana for an instant. Target creature gains death touch and lifelink until end of turn. Investigate. I like that it replaces itself. This is a 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it as a 2.
All right. Undercity Eliminator, 5 mana for a 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice an artifact or creature. When you do, exile target creature an opponent controls. The fact that it says artifact makes it quite a bit better, and also the Gorgon removal spells always tend to be pretty solid. I think this card's good.
Yeah, it's exile removal, which obviously deals with your favorite not goblin card, but also means they can't use the things for collect evidence later.
Yeah, true. And you're spending a card on it, ideally a clue or a 1/1 token or something. But I think that's okay. You're going to get to kill whatever their biggest thing is, and it comes on a stick, which is nice. Yep. As opposed to the Bone Splinters-esque ability where you're kind of 2-for-1ing yourself. So I think this is good. You have to have something in play, so I don't know if I want to dock it too much, but honestly, I doubt I'm cutting this.
Oh yeah, I'm certainly not cutting this card.
Is it a 3.5 or is it a 4?
I don't think it's a 4. I think it's probably a 3.5.
Yeah, I think it's close. I'm tempted, but
like 5 mana. feels like nowadays 5 mana, even if it was like unconditional 5 mana sorcery speed, exile something almost isn't a 4 anymore. And this
Yeah.
does have some conditions. You get a creature, but you also sometimes you won't be able to kill anything with this.
And sometimes you lose something that's too
Uh,
good, right? Like you have to
I
have
guess I
something
take that.
low.
I guess I take that back. You can always kill something because you can sacrifice itself,
Yes.
so you will always get the removal.
Sorcery speed, whatever.
Yeah,
I think it's a 3.5.
yeah. Oh, yeah,
We
it's 3/5.
we have an unscrupulous agent, 2 mana for a 1/1. When it enters a battlefield, target opponent exiles a card from their hand. These are always good. I like these
Yep.
cards. They're snails, elves,
Rats, a lot.
funguses, ruts, rats, whatever. Ruts.
Rats.
And they've been good for sacrifice targets. They've been good for all sorts of things. This is a premium candidate for the Gorgon we just saw.
Yep. This is
And
exactly the sort of thing you want to sacrifice to that.
and it exiles, so they don't get to use it. Good card advantage. We've seen multiple things that give things death touch, right? So this would work with the slugs. This would work with the case that gives post combat destroy a thing for one. Like all of these things make this card good. I think it synergizes well with what we've seen in black so far.
Yeah. No, I think these cards are always playable, and some sets they're better than others.
I think this one is going to be one of the better sets. It's also a detective. I'm going to give this a solid 3.
I think I'm a little lower at 2/5, but it definitely in the right deck has the potential to play higher.
Oh, this better do something really good. We have a 3 black, black, black vampire assassin with flying. It's a 5/6 with ward, sack a creature. That's pretty good ward cost. Whenever a creature dies, target opponent loses 2 life and you gain life. Whenever a creature dies, just straight up.
Yeah, so it's like a supercharged blood artist.
Yeah.
Yeah. The ward cost is real, although we've seen things that
Minus X, minus X.
ignore it. Yep.
Yeah. Not a lot though.
Um,
The one that ignored it was on a
was small.
3 CMC small guys or
Yep.
whatever. And then the other one
Yeah.
was an X spell, which was a uncommon, or was it a rare?
It was a common.
Oh, that was a common. Okay.
Slice from the shadows. Yeah, is a
Okay.
common.
So Slice of Shadows isn't great for this. We'll have to see what red like is. There's always a 5 red damage spell, but I don't think that this is a 5. But I think it is close. I think it is a 4.5. But it's also triple
Yeah.
black pip, which makes me sad.
I kind of think this is a 5 because again that may change if we see a lot of stuff in red that also has the can't be countered portion. But if that's the only card that really deals with it without making them 2-for-1 themselves, and to the point that they can't even cast the other removal spells on this without having a creature, and at minimum this dies and you do get the drain for 2.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of situations, a fair number of them that we can come up with where this is not as impactful as my 5s typically are. I think it can win a game like a 5, but also my 5s tend to be very unavoidable, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know.
I mean,
Close.
it's not pack rat or dream, whatever that thing was,
Trawler.
trawler. It's not that.
I heard there's a new Dream Trawler in this set we get to look forward to.
Oh yay!
I haven't seen it yet, but someone said that there's a new Dream Trawler and I was sad about it.
Yeah, I mean maybe it's a high end 4/5 or a low end 5, but it's right in that region.
It's going to depend. I mean, a common removal spell kills it pretty cleanly, and I think that is not impactful enough for me to go 5. It's close. And also, I give it a slight dock for the triple black pip as well. Because
Sure.
those are, like, impossible to cast most of the time.
Yeah, not so much on 6 though. Unless you're in a 3-color format, which doesn't feel like this is.
And it doesn't feel like it's a 3-color format, but there's a lot more 3 colors than the average format. This is like a 1.5 multicolor format. Because we're in Ravnica, right? There's a lot more multicolor cards.
Yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean you're in a 3-color set if there's no fixing for it.
Yeah. I feel like most of the time in Ravnica's we end up with some more splash decks than the average set.
Yeah, I
And
think that's true.
and triple pips are always hard to cast even in 2 colors. That's the end of our set for black. Yanks, what do you think of black so far?
It's what you expect in a sense. It's got the best removal. It's got some sacrifice stuff. Yeah, I think the set's interesting. I'm curious as to how well the collect evidence sort of sub theme pays slash graveyard sub theme plays out.
Yeah. I'm glad to see that they didn't just like out. I'm glad that Disguise didn't just ruin like the cheap limited removal, like the destroy target 3 CMC or lower, like those kinds of cards. I like them, and I'm glad that they're not just like absolute utter garbage.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it for us for this one, guys. Next up, we will be doing red. Make sure you guys check out the introduction to Murder at Karlov Manor because that one is already up. And yeah, don't forget, leave us a comment. Let us know what you think of the black cards from the new set, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.